Hi everybody. I thought I would show you a function here that's in PC Shell 5.5. Let me actually exit out of this and go back into PC Shell. Reading tree file. Okay, let me move the mouse cursor out of the way. And apparently it did not display the version number there, but it is version 5.5. I'm going to go into, let's see, the disk map of drive C, that is. Whoops. Disk map. Took a moment to load it. And you can see here we have a map of the disk. This hard drive is 408 megabytes. And so we have the legend here at the top. There's 85% free space. Not a single bad cluster on it, thank goodness. There is a boot record on it, however. I have formatted it to be a bootable device. So I'm not sure actually why the file allocation table, the boot record, and the directory are not showing up. It's possible that they're all so small, relatively speaking, that they don't show up at this scale. This map would scale itself to whatever the size of your hard drive was at the time. So when we began, we had a 20 megabyte hard drive. So I remember that the boot record, file allocation table, and the directory all showed up on the map. But as you can see here, we've got allocated sectors and some available sectors. And so here we have what we now call fragmentation. I don't remember if that was the term at the time. But if we go into the menu options here, we don't want special. Here we are. If we go into the menu options under applications, we can go to compress disk. And it launches this separate program called compress. And we again have those same legend. And if we go into the menu here, disk analysis. Let's do a disk analysis, and once again move the mouse cursor out of the way. Okay, file allocation tables match. Allocated clusters, unallocated clusters. Oh, okay, clusters, not sectors, sorry. 1,620 total file chains, 17 fragmented file chains, and 4% file fragmentation factor. So the disk is 4% fragmented. And it recommends that we do a compressing. Let's go to the disk analysis with F7. Oh, that was the same thing. Let's go to analysis. File analysis? Maybe file analysis shows something different. Ah, it does. Okay, so this actually tells the there's a number of clusters, number of areas, and percent, whatever that means. So here it is showing all the files on the disk. And you notice I've got some Sierra games and WordPerfect 5.1, backup directories, etc. And anyway, what I'm going to do is, oh, there we are. There's the boot sector, fat sector, and root directory. They show up on this map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a disk compression. That's what it was called at the time. Today it is a misnomer. What we call compression now, and even what it was really called then, was shrinking a file size in order to preserve disk space. What this really is a defragmenter, with a name that did not age well. So this is a compression utility. Excuse me, a defrag utility that's called a compression utility. Let's go to, okay, compress. We want to do a full compression, not just unfragmenting. We also want to move all the files so that the um, empty space there in the middle of the allocated sectors and clusters is essentially pushed all the way to the right. 4% fragmentation is not a whole lot, so this should not take a long time. But here we go. Print report, actually. If I print a report, at the completion of the compress, print a report to the printer or disk. Cancel means no report. Aha. In that case, let's save a disk. I'm not sure what the file name is, and I'll have to look up afterward, and I probably won't do that, but let's do the begin compress. Warning, diskette compression has been requested. All memory resident programs, except PC Tools programs, must be terminated before continuing. Diskette activity of any kind must be suspended until disk compression is completed. It is also recommended that the diskette be backed up before proceeding. Once diskette compression is in progress, it may be interrupted by pressing escape. Continue. And now I can hear the hard drive spinning and accessing itself. It's sorting the directories and preparing for disk optimization. And then it will begin a step-by-step, bit-by-bit, well, not technically bit-by-bit, but you notice the R is for read and the W is for write. What it is doing now is moving and making the files much more contiguous across the occupied clusters of the hard drive. It shows the elapsed time as 28 seconds so far, and the percent complete, 4% complete currently. And you see the cluster numbers there at the bottom as well. It's telling you what file it's moving to where, what file it's moving from where to where, at how many clusters it's moving in that step. And you notice on the right possibly that the mouse cursor is flickering. That's also apparent to me on my screen. I'm obviously showing this as a camera pointed at the CRT monitor screen, so you're seeing a flicker that's on the monitor on this video that I am not seeing. However, the mouse cursor there on the far right, that is flickering to me, and that's normal. So you can see that this is running pretty fast. This is a 386 25 megahertz processor, but it also has a math coprocessor which boosts it to 29 megahertz. And is actually coming up on, wow, nearly complete after less than 2 minutes. You know, it was only 4% fragmented when it started. 94% complete. What we would normally do, we would not really do this very often, not that I recall anyway, when there was a lot of fragmentation on the smaller hard drives and slower processors, especially 20 megabyte 8088 processor. If there was a lot of fragmentation, we would set this to run overnight, and we would come back in the morning, and it would be complete, and then things would actually run much more quickly. You actually end up, at least according to the map here, with less occupied clusters than before. So it appears. Obviously, no data got deleted, but if a sector is partially occupied, it marks it here on the map as fully occupied to your eyes as it presents it to you. Diskette compression successfully completed. You may now run mirror, exit, or continue. Well, we want to run exit. 2 minutes, 29 seconds. System reboot recommendation. Caution. Disk directories have been rewritten during the compress function and may now conflict with directory pointers maintained by certain memory resident programs. If disk-oriented memory resident programs other than any PC Tools program are active, or if a disk caching subsystem other than PC Cache is in use, it is highly recommended that the system be rebooted before continuing. Now, I do have some memory resident programs, such as the zip drivers that have been loaded, and the mouse driver, and we never ignored this, by the way, of course. We always rebooted afterward. Let's hit the reset button. And so that is the process for compressing the disk, or as we call it, defragmenting the disk, of course. Seeking the floppy drives. You can also do that to a floppy drive too, by the way, to a floppy disk, although it was really not enough space to be worth doing. Press the F1 key to continue. You notice the SanDisk there, drive D. I've got a a board installed that allows me to use a compact flash card as a hard drive, and that's a 2 megabyte card. 2 gigabyte card. So I have plenty of space, other than the official vintage genuine hard drive. And this at the end of the autoexec.bat file, I had it run a batch file which runs this screensaver, so that if I happen to reboot the computer and walk away to go get a sandwich or something, then the screen is not simply sitting, possibly burning, before I remember to come back to it and continue whatever I was doing. So there we go.